This is the Moonlight Graham Show, a freewheeling conversation with the role players, the underdogs, and guys with flat-out great stories in sports.
Hello and welcome back to the Moonlight Graham Show, and our Moonlighter for today is a guy that I met 15 years ago back on the campus of Iowa Central Community College. His name is Klaye Rowe. See, back in the day, I was on the baseball team at Iowa Central. Klaye was on the basketball team, and Klaye had a little bit better career than I did because he is in the Hall of Fame over at Iowa Central. Klaye was a pretty darn good basketball player back in the day. After his time in Fort Dodge, Klaye went to Bellevue University, where he had a great couple of years there, and he has stayed involved in the game of basketball up until today. Klaye's 36 years old today, still plays a ton of hoops at a pretty high level over in the Omaha, Nebraska area. And a couple of years ago, a guy over in Omaha asked if Klaye wanted to participate in some 3-on-3 basketball tournaments. And I'm not talking about just the type of 3-on-3 tournaments that you're playing on a mobile hoop in the parking lot of an old mall. I'm talking about like high-level USA basketball, trying to qualify for the Olympics type 3-on-3 basketball. And if you've been paying attention to basketball in the Olympics, you would have known that 3-on-3 basketball is now an Olympic sport. And it's an actually really big sport over in other parts of the world, especially Eastern Europe. And so you got teams like out of Iceland and Amsterdam that are really, really good 3-on-3 teams that have been playing together for 5 to 10 years now. And over here in America, we're a little bit late to that game because the 5-on-5 game is such a huge game here with the NBA, of course. But a guy approached Klaye to play in some high-level 3-on-3 basketball, and sure enough, a couple of years later, Klaye is on a team that wins the national championship here in the United States at the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 3-on-3 basketball. And so today, Klaye is an actual professional 3-on-3 basketball player. He is playing for Omaha 3-ball, or 3-ball Omaha, which is one of the best 3-on-3 basketball teams in the United States, and he's playing on the Red Bull circuit. So this is a real thing. It's a sponsored thing. They win money for tournaments. Their point standings. And so when I saw that Klaye was doing this really through just social media, I thought, man, I don't know much about 3-on-3 basketball, and especially this world circuit, this world tour that is going on right now, and how it's becoming a professional sport. So I got to bring Klaye on the pod to just learn more about it and get caught up. So this one was really fun for me because I love the game of 3-on-3 basketball. I always thought it was a fun game. There's a lot of different types of 3-on-3 out there. The one that Klaye is playing is, and he'll talk more about it in this episode, but it's really, really fast paced. You're not even checking the ball. You're scoring as many points as you can in a 10-minute, really fast paced game. It's very physical. It's very fast. And even an old man like a 36-year-old Klaye Rowe can be successful at it. So enjoy today's episode with Moonlighter, Klaye Rowe. Klaye Rowe, the Trash Man. Why is your screen name the Trash Man on Zoom right now, Klaye?
So it's kind of a funny story, but that actually goes back to Iowa Central. It would have been my freshman year. I was, not playing a whole lot, but when I did get in the game, it was, all energy, all effort, just trying to fly around the court, get rebounds, get the ball out, just do the things I could do to help us win. And after the game, when one of the dorms, a guy comes up and had like the program, and I don't even know, it's the only time I ever seen him, but he was like, hey, will you sign this for me? Could you sign it, the Trash Man? And I got a good laugh out of it. And it's just carried on throughout the years. So that's actually, in the FIBA, 3x3 kind of, the tour and stuff like that, like all the players have certain nicknames. And I personally chose the Trash Man just because I feel like it fits my game. I know it fits my game. Fits my game to a T. So that's just kind of stuck, but I love it.
So is that what you have on the back of your jersey, Trash Man?
No, they don't do that. It's usually for usually there's a MC that calls the games out and stuff like that. There's a couple of them. One of them, they're both really good. But he'll, throughout the game will call you by your nickname if it arises. So.
Yeah, how cool is it when we look back on, we spent time at Iowa Central together, you on the basketball team, I was on the baseball team, but then you also had John Bones Jones on the wrestling team while we were there as well. And look at where we're at now, Clay.
I could believe it's been 16 years.
Yeah.
I would argue who's got the bigger show, the Moonlight Graham show or John Bones Jones. So I think I'm going to have to go with your show down the road. It's been so successful and everybody just loves it. So it's an honor for me just to be here. I feel like besides this 3x3 stuff, making it on the Moonlight Graham show, anything beyond this point is just playing with house money.
Well, I appreciate those kind words. So going back to our Iowa Central time, though, obviously I'm from Fort Dodge, but had you ever been to Fort Dodge before you stepped on campus? And what were those 2 years like in the Dodge for you?
I came on a visit maybe the fall before, talked to Coach Pilcher, and then after that I hadn't been there until classes started. Just love the campus. It's always just going to hold a special spot in my heart. Where I met my wife, we have 3 beautiful boys now. We've married for 12 years. I mean, we've been together for, this will age us a little bit, but yeah, 16 years. So it's been a long time, but the campus is just beautiful. Just everything with sports are really good. It was just the whole atmosphere, the whole experience is something I'll always cherish.
I lived across the street from Dennis Pilcher, Coach Pilcher, my entire life. And that guy never recruited me. I never got a recruiting call from Coach Pilcher, but I had heard that he could really chew some guys out. And I had always heard that one of his threats at one point, or when he's chewing you guys out at practice, that he would say, you guys couldn't beat the Friendship Haven All-Stars right now. And did he ever pull that one out for you guys? In Friendship Haven, for those listening at home, is where my grandparents currently live, in a retirement community that's next to Iowa Central. Did he ever pull out the Friendship Haven All-Stars to you?
I feel like he pulled it out almost daily on us, just to keep us motivated. He was the master of the one-liners, old school coach, stuff like that. And ex-teammates of, buddies of mine, we have so many one-liners and just bring up, so many stories. One of the favorites is I used to get, talking a little bit here and there. If somebody started talking to me, I'd go on the court and talk a little trash, and he'd come in at halftime and tell me, Rowe, you couldn't talk crap if you had a turd in your mouth, stuff like that. It goes on and on. You could do a whole pod almost just on his one-liners, really.
I love that guy lived in Iowa for 50 years, but still sounded like he was from Southern Missouri.
Absolutely. That's where he moved back to. I believe he's down in the Branson area now.
Yeah.
Golfing and just living it up. I think the players like myself forced him into that retirement.
So after Iowa Central, obviously you go to Bellevue and have a great career there. But what have you been doing from a basketball standpoint over the last, 10 to 15 years now since you got out of college? Because now all of a sudden, you're a pro 3-on-3 basketball player. So have you been in the game, the last 10 years here?
Yeah, absolutely. Since I graduated, I ended up getting on a really good team here in Omaha, but a lot of older guys, a lot of high caliber guys. And we, over the years, just kept winning tournaments and playing cash tournaments and 5-on-5, a lot of leagues around here in town, just a lot of winning over the years. And just the way that I play, a lot of times, people want me on their team because it's unselfish play. I'm going to do a lot of the dirty work and take good shots and just try to make sure that we're winning. I mean, winning is important to me when you're, playing games like this. And I think that fell right into the opportunity of how this 3x3 stuff came about for me.
Yeah. How did this 3-on-3 thing come about?
It was a word of mouth deal. There was already a team kind of established through Michael Ranovics is the owner of 3Ball USA, also our team manager. He has a few teams around the country, and he had moved to Omaha to just kind of get some things started right there here in the center of the U.S. And I just got a call from him, and he asked me, he's like, "I've heard a lot of good things about you. I was wondering," and this was 2019. Yeah, it was like about 3 years ago or so, and said, "Hey, can you play in a tournament in Venice Beach in 2 weeks?" And I'd never heard of the 3x3, that type of game, and I was hesitant at first. And I talked to a couple other guys that I'd be playing with, another one, former Triton, Dylan Travis, and I said, "Hey, let's do it." So we jumped on there, and I called Mike. I said, "Hey, do you mind? I'm taking this trip. Do you care if I bring my wife?" And he said, "Absolutely." So he had some sponsorships and backings at that point. So the flying out there was in the hotel and stuff was covered for the trip, and so we got a really good experience playing on the Muscle Beach, as you call it, with the team. But that's basically just where it started, and we've really just basically just went on from there.
So was it like a white man can't jump scene out on Venice Beach?
Oh, it was quite the experience. We loved it. We were really young back then. We were learning the game and stuff like that. We blew a big lead late against the Team Slam, the Venice Beach guys that are all down there. So that really hurt. And we were expecting, we use that as fuel. We're expecting to go to nationals in April of that next year. And that was April of 2020. So, when the pandemic started, everything just got shut down. And so we just had this Venice Beach, how we just kind of blew this tournament off just in the back of our minds. And we just had to really get some redemption for it. But we had to continue to wait. We had to wait all of basically 2020 without playing. And, even to this day with this, early success that we've had, it's kind of funny with, Red Bull articles and stuff like that. They tout us as this team that's been together for years. And it's really just not the case. We've only played maybe 12 tournaments together as a whole in 3 years. So, it's misleading. I mean, the fact, we came back in June of this year, finally able to get back on the court and get a lot of COVID protocols and stuff like that in Massachusetts. And we ended up having a phenomenal run at nationals and ran the table 7-0, beat New York Harlem in the national championship, who they're on the world tour. And it basically just kind of started snowballing from there. So, I mean, we've got 5 national championship plus 4 other tournament wins since June. And then our other 3 losses have all been in the championship game. 2 teams that have played on the world tour in a world tour tournament so far. So we're beating the teams that we need to. We're just, we're trying to figure out the mental aspect of this game.
Well, yeah, I want to talk about this game. And before we get to the mental aspect of it, which I'm interested in too, but the rules of 3-on-3, because I grew up playing like Gus Macker type 3-on-3 tournaments, right? Where you check the ball, it might be all 1s to 11 or, 1s and 2s to 15. But this is a different game where you're not checking the ball every time. It's fast paced. What is it? 10-minute games mostly. But it still is 1 and 2. So explain how this 3x3 game is different than maybe the traditional 3-on-3.
Yeah. So the main difference, it's, FIBA kind of created this game. I don't know how many years ago. I know it's really popular in Europe. It's really starting to catch on in the US because just to how fast paced it is. And to be honest with you, once you play it one time, and in a setting like that, it's almost just instantly addicting, and you just want to keep on playing. But 10-minute stopped clock, the first one to 21 points, or whatever team is leading after that 10 minutes is up. There's a 12-second shot clock. So if the ball comes out, somebody scores, the ball comes out. As soon as I touch it, I have to clear it. That 12 seconds starts. So the ball still needs to be cleared out past the 3-point line, the international line, and then you start playing. And you're obviously either guarding or trying to score. The games are 1s and 2s. So 2s in this type of game are obviously gold compared to in NBA and college and high school is twos and threes. The twos have 100% markup of value. So on defense, you just cannot give up twos. On offense, you really want twos because it can get you back in the game. It can change everything. The ball is a lot different. It's got a lot of ridges. It's meant for kind of street ball, outdoor tournaments and stuff like that. It's the women's size basketball, but it still has the men's weight.
That's crazy to me. Is that weird?
Yeah.
Is that weird?
It takes a lot of time to get used to. We've played with a lot of really, really talented basketball players, and it takes them a time to adjust to it. And I believe, they want to promote scoring. The game is just very physical. So it's got a little football aspect to it, kind of got like some wrestling kind of grappling to it. You really got to earn your points. And plus you're exhausted. So when you're running out here, you only have one timeout and then one sub. You only get 4 players, one timeout in that 10-minute span. And it, with the smaller ball, when you're trying to shoot exhausted, sometimes your body's telling you one thing and you think, oh, I'm right here. But so it works out. I think at the end of the day, it was the right decision making it that type of ball. But so, some players play professionally with the regular size ball still and do 3x3 maybe in the off season. So it doesn't really throw their shot off or anything like that because it's the same weight. Last part of the game, so there's no personal fouls. There's only team fouls. And once a team hits 7 fouls, the opposition gets 2 free throws. And then once they hit 10 fouls, the opposition gets 2 free throws plus the ball. So you really want to avoid 7 fouls by all means. And if you get to 10 fouls, you're in a lot of trouble as far as if you're going to win or not.
Yeah. So you mentioned the mental aspect of the game. Like, you've played a ton of basketball and you've played it at a pretty high level against really good competition for the last 16 years of your life. How is the mental side of 3x3 different than any other basketball that you've played? So
with our team, I mean, we just have talent all over the place. I mean, I'm the oldest guy on the team by far. I mean, I was kind of thinking about this today and I was laughing. So our youngest guy, was in Serbia last year, his name's Malik, and I'm thinking, geez, so, when my wife and I got married, like, he was 12, because he's like 24 years old. And we have a really good relationship. He's, all of our team, we all love each other and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just, it's amazing to think of, just the youth on up. But the mental aspect of it, the difference of it is, with our talent, we've been able to get to where we are, and now we're kind of running into this buzzsaw when we really face teams that are on the world tour. We're trying to figure out how we can make this next step in winning, on the world tour and beating some of these teams who are really professional teams. Because I mean, our 2021 record is something like, 60-5 or something since
Wow.
June. And so but the games that we've lost, or been in championship games, or when we went to that Montreal world tour, we went 0-2. We ran into Amsterdam, and they're actually a professional. That's all they do is play 3x3, and it was just eye opening. It felt like it was like your first varsity game all over again. The lights were bright. We were running around. We watched film after the game, and we said, "What were we even doing?" I mean, they just crushed us, But it was mental. It's the mental part of it. You're trying to get mismatches that fit you. You're trying to basically out scheme them with whatever plays that you're running on the dead balls that you do get, and just in transition, and trying to figure out how you can really grit out points as well as shut them down at the same time, because they're kind of doing the same thing to you. So, and it's so fast paced that if we don't have time and you can't look over film and really watch, things and talk them over and stuff like that, you forget it by the time the game's over, because the game's such a blur. It just happens so fast. There's no way that you can really go back after a scrimmage or a game and say, remember this play here and that play there. You just don't have that time. So that's the step we're actually on right now, is film study, walkthroughs, and more or less about scrimmaging. Scrimmaging really, I think at this point we do it for the conditioning and the cardio, but I don't think that it's making our team better.
So are you winning prize money for all these tournaments? Do you have sponsors? Like, how does this work? Because it is like you guys played in that World Tour event in Canada, and I think you're coming up in Mexico City here in a couple of months as well. You've won a bunch of tournaments. So are you making money doing this?
So how we're doing it is we do have a local sponsor, Going Vertical Basketball Academy, which is awesome. So that's like the facility that we practice at. They have just a lot of good amenities and stuff like that. They teach basketball the right way, and they actually incorporate a lot of 3-on-3 stuff with their young men and pros and whoever is coming in there with Coach Barnes. So it actually kind of ended up being kind of a perfect marriage for us or for them to kind of help sponsor us with our travel and stuff like that. Michael Randovich, like I said, is he's the CEO of Three Ball USA, and so he's basically the manager of what we do. And what we're doing right now is, obviously we're always looking for sponsors to help with things. But so the Red Bull Tour is first place is $3,500 for the team. Second place is $1,500. And our goal, so it gets a little complicated at this point, but so we've won 4 tournaments, and then we've gotten second and 3. Red Bull only takes your top 5 tournaments like as an individual. So at the end of the year, individual points for these tournaments, first, second, and third place will pay a combined $25,000. So we're sitting in first, second, and third place right now. We really would love to have won Minneapolis this last week. We fell short in the championship game again, as I was talking about before. But yeah, so turn around, you use that 25,000 maybe to get us in some challengers and some stuff for next year, reinvest it type of deal. But yeah, it's kind of it's a complicated kind of ordeal, but we do fly. Basically, it's like get off work on Friday. This week we're not doing Memphis because we feel like we have that 25,000 wrapped up, so we don't need to make that trip. But it's get off work on Friday, go to the airport, fly to Memphis, play on Saturday, fly out Saturday night, and you're back home Saturday night. So it's a lot of those type of trips, really.
Yeah, for sure. So how's your body feeling?
It feels like I'm 30. It feels like I'm 36. You know how it goes.
I played 2 weeks ago and I can still feel it in my knee.
Oh yeah. Well, it's more nicks and bruises. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another at 36. So the good news about 3x3 really is that it's actually, it may not seem like it when you watch it because of the physicality and stuff, but since you're not running the floor over the course of 40 minutes and doing that, it's actually better on your body, I believe. And I don't think it does as much, wear and tear as some 5-on-5. So, but yeah, I feel like you're typical. I always laugh when, the younger guys on the team and stuff are talking about how they're hurt. And I'm like, no, hurting. I mean, I get back from some of these tournaments, like Minneapolis, we played eight games on Saturday, 7 or 8 games, because it was just a big tournament, 21 teams. And I mean, I'm usually not ready for the next trip until it's today, Thursday. So I'd be just gearing up right now. So it takes me a lot longer to recover. But other than that, I'm just happy to continue to keep playing. Really, this has been fantastic.
Are you still dunking
donuts? No, I know. And then there's that one too. I'm at that stage too. That's the only part of the game I miss is dunking. And a lot of these guys I play with, they didn't even know. I'm like, I told you, I used to be able to jump. I swear. And they're flying all over the rims and still throwing their head up there and doing all sorts of weird stuff. And I'm like, I swear I used to be able to dunk. I promise. But I'm at that stage now where every birthday, December 3rd, I usually get one in an organized game. I'll usually get one in a year. But I still, every birthday, I got to go up there and take the one step, two-hand dunk, and just to see if I still got it for the year. But as long as I get that in, then I consider myself still dunking. So as of 36, yes, I'm still dunking.
Yeah, you got to at least get to 40, right?
No, man, I would hope. I don't know. Well, when you see these guys jump too, and I know there's a lot of listeners on your podcast would, and well, even yourself, but once Fitz gets a little older, and like you see, I see my boys like jumping off retaining walls and stuff, and it just makes all my knees hurt and like just every part of my body. So to gather that much energy to get up there and dunk at this point just seems more wasteful on my body. It just actually hurts to think about, really.
I feel you 100% on that one, Klaye. It pains me to do that. Like in my head, I still want to, I want to dive on the floor. I want to, go up and touch the rim. I want to, go up for a rebound. And then when I land, it hurts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the first time I started following like the 3x3 stuff is when I found out that like Robbie Hummel and Canyon Barry were playing on the USA team. And I think they had won a big tournament, maybe back in 2018 or 2019. And I remember watching highlights for that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Robbie Hummel's playing for that because he was doing ESPN games already as a color commentator guy. And his knees kind of had taken him out of professional 5-on-5 basketball. And they've kind of been at least the main USA basketball team over the last couple of years, but they got beat out in the Olympic qualifiers. So USA basketball didn't have a representative at the Olympics in Tokyo this past year. But have you guys played up against Hummel and Canyon Barry and that squad?
Yeah. So, it was kind of disheartening with the Olympic trials and that the U.S. didn't qualify. So they were in Beverly Hills, and Red Bull like rented them out this mansion, and they had the court put up in the backyard and stuff like that for them to train prior to going to Austria to do that qualifying tournament. And Michael, who you're referring to, knows a lot of people at USA Basketball and plus the FIBA and stuff like that. Well, this was before nationals, and he called a few of us and said, hey, do you guys want to go out here and do a mini camp with the USA team that's going over to Austria just to give them different looks and stuff like that? I'm sure you guys can learn a whole lot. So, of course, 3 of the 4 of us jumped all over it and flew down to California and did this 4-day camp with, Robbie Hummel, Kareem Maddox. And what really hurt them, I believe, too, was that Canyon at that time really hurt his back. And so he was a no-go. Damo Jones, Disco Damo, that's his nickname. But they're all really, really nice people, and they're really, just really nice helping us kind of learn the game. They've been on the world tour. They've played for Princeton and also represent the U.S. in a lot of these big tournaments. So they were scrambling to find their 4th guy, and FIBA makes FIBA makes it so that basically, like US couldn't just be like, hey, KD, do you want to come play 3x3 for whatever, and win gold? So you have to be a top 10 player in the US to represent them like that. And you get those points on the world tour, you get them on the Red Bull tour. So then they're scrambling because Canyon's out, and he's probably their most versatile player. And so then they had to bring in some other guys and try to work them out last minute. To figure out who they're going to take to Austria in 4 or 5 days. So it was, it hurt. It hurt to see that happen because they are a good team. They've been around a long time. It was just, I think, they were kind of a victim of circumstance there with injuries.
So you guys won that national championships in June, and it was at, I believe, the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? So is your picture in the Basketball Hall of Fame?
That'd be a good question. That's a question I need to ask Michael. I don't know. That was the coolest experience ever, because I'd obviously never been there. But the fact that they have that court in the middle and they just did the whole USA basketball get up and stuff. And every time you're coming in for a game, it just, it was such adrenaline pumping. It felt like you were like coming into a gauntlet because you knew how physical it was going to be. Anything can happen. You really just have to play really well. But once you left, that particular game was just, I mean, it was an incredibly great feeling.
You got to find out if your picture's in the Hall of Fame, because that's something that becomes your icebreaker, right?
Well, yeah, no, you're right. Aside from being on the Moonlight Graham show,
yeah, aside from that,
right below. No, I agree.
Because I thought about that. When I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame, there was a baseball card display there, and there was a crack in the glass, like between the panes of the glass. And I think next time I go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, I'm going to bring my baseball card and I'm going to slip it into the baseball card display. So then, and see if I get caught, but then my baseball card would be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. But you actually have earned your picture in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
That's the greatest idea I've ever heard. You might have to let me know. I want to come. I'll come do that. I'll come do that with you.
Yeah. I'll call you and Bullmeyer up, and we'll go there, all three of us.
Perfect.
So, Clay, the way we end every episode of the Moonlight Graham Show, which I know you're a loyal listener, so these the 5 big questions are coming. So, first question is, who's your all-time favorite teammate?
That's great. Alex Bullmeyer, the man.
Already mentioned. So what made Bullmeyer a good teammate for you?
He was my roommate as well, but just real laid back. I mean, we came from 2 different sized cities and stuff like that. And he was able to handle my antics back then. But even on the court, and like I said today, it shows years later we're still laughing about all the stuff that used to happen back then. So that's what makes him the greatest.
Could Bullmeyer play?
Yeah. He would get in. Well, you want to talk. His nickname was Old Man, so if he was actually on the FIBA circuit, he would still be Old Man, and that was when he was 20. We called him Old Man Bullmeyer, just the way he played and stuff like that. But I mean, he was so fundamentally sound in everything that he did and stuff like that. Pilcher's never going to overlook players like that, So he would knock down shots when they were there. Was always guarding really hard, make the right passes, doing the right things, and it's easy to get on the court when you're doing that.
What's one moment from your basketball career that reminds you of everything that you love about the game?
I would say winning that national championship a few months ago was a really great feeling. Just kind of able to, you put closure. I mean, everything else has just been icing on the cake, but to be able to put closure on something like that, win like a really big tournament. If I fell short at Iowa Central and lost the national championship game at Bellevue University my senior year. So to be able to do this many years later is just it's ironic that it's kind of ironic how God works sometimes.
Is there a game or a shot or a play that still nags at you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of 100. Yeah, there was There was. The national championship game when at Bellevue University was there was just a few plays in there. I just don't, I don't know what was going on. It was just I was out there being lethargic, and that has always bothered me over the years. Just how I was playing in that game after playing well throughout the whole season. So it was good to get a little redemption, I guess, in a different type of basketball. But that game in particular really, really bothered me.
So you're 36 years old. You got a national championship on your resume in 3x3. You've made money playing basketball. Like, you're still a pro basketball player in your late 30s here. What is the main goal for you as it relates to your basketball career still out there for you?
I tell the team all the time, and I would love another year, 2022 year of this. If you got into 2023 would be even greater, but would love to win a World Tour Masters would be huge. Those are incredibly hard to win. Even Robbie Hummel and the Princeton team that's been around a long time. I mean, they've won. They did win Worlds with Canyon and Damon Huffman, but they've only won one World Tour Masters out of 20 tries. And New York Harlem's the other team on the tour. And they're in the same boat. They've only won one World Tour Masters in about 20 tries. So the game is so crazy that a lot has to happen for you to win one of those. But that's the first goal, and the second goal would be with a lot of our younger guys is getting them ready, and hopefully they get picked by USA Basketball for Paris in 2024. Would be phenomenal to see them on the Olympic stage. after, years of hard work in 3X.
Are your kids able to watch you play?
Yeah, they're right there. All the tournaments that we can drive to, I bring the whole family up there in the minivan. So we did Minneapolis, we did Oklahoma City. During the games, they're more or less running around doing stuff like that. But like the national championship and world tour up in Montreal, all that stuff is on YouTube. Easily streamed and linked. So they were able to watch that. So my oldest is right there. He's all on board for it.
That's got to be pretty cool.
Oh, it's a great feeling because I felt like for a long time it was just going to be like, oh, your dad was a good basketball player, and like, oh, okay, whatever. But to actually, he'll probably be able to remember it. He's 7. The oldest is 7, so he'll probably actually, possibly remember watching some of that. So that is a cool feeling.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 7, I think MJ was winning his 2nd title, and I remember that.
Yeah, you never. I'm like, I got good kindergarten memory, so I think he should.
Well, that would have been
right.
the 3rd. I think 93 for me. That's Bulls Suns. I remember watching the Bulls Suns.
Thunder Dan.
Yeah, Thunder Dan. Barkley was at his best, right? Kevin Johnson.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I still remember watching those games in our basement. So that would be cool. So final question here, Clay, is what's the best advice you've ever received?
That's another great question. I don't know that I've had I don't know if I can come up with one right now. That's a hard one to answer. I've received a lot of good advice, but I can't come up with one off the top of my head. So I'm only going to win 4 questions. I'm only going to get 4 questions right today.
Geez, I can't believe Dennis Pilcher, Chad Helly, they never gave you a good piece of advice. I mean, no wonder you guys never won the big one at Iowa Central.
Well, I know. I'm trying to think, I'm like, never let your meatloaf. There's one.
I mean, if that saying didn't get said a million times on Iowa Central's campus,
No, here I got one. That was probably way on there, but never do today what you can put off till tomorrow. That was one of my grandpa's favorite quotes, so we'll go with that one.
Oh, it's good to end on Dwight Siebler. And I was really sorry to hear about his passing this past year too, Clay. And it was a treat to get to know him through the podcast a little bit and hear his story. So thank you for connecting us with your grandpa. He was a great man.
Absolutely. That the joke within our family after he had passed was, we're not quite sure he's in heaven yet because I think he's still at the gates chit-chatting with St. Peter. So we're like, well, he'll get there eventually, but he's got to get, St. Peter's got to push him on through before that. So he was quite the talker. So I really appreciate you having him on there too. That was very, very special for my family.
It was special for us here on the pod too. So, hey man, thank you so much for joining us. This has been fun, getting caught up and learning about 3x3, and good luck. Good luck to everything else you got going in Mexico City and on the world tour, hopefully here soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Tim. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Clay.
Thank you for listening to our episode with Klaye Rowe, and back to the Cosner Quest. The reason why so many of you are tuning in, I thought we had a big break in the case last week when I got the phone number for Jefferson White. And so Jefferson White plays the character of Jimmy on the hit show Yellowstone with, of course, the great Kevin Costner. So I got his phone number because Jefferson White is an Iowan, and he's on that show. I got his number. And last Wednesday, I believe, I sent Jeff White a text message to see if he would come on the show. And I had, favorable access to Jeff White. So I thought, dropping this name, dropping that name, might be able to get him on the show. And he would then be a really close bridge to getting Cosner on the show. But as fate would have it, haven't heard back from Jeff White. I actually, as I'm recording this right now, I sent him a follow-up text message about 10 minutes ago before I recorded this. So I'm holding out a little bit of hope that one will come to fruition. But I think getting somebody that close to him in real time, not somebody that met him 20 years ago or worked with him 20 years ago, would be a really good break in this Cosner quest here. But nothing yet, guys. Nothing yet. I'm not losing enthusiasm. I'm not losing hope, because there's always hope. And I think we're going to get Cosner on the pod, and I'm going to update you about it, and I'm going to be pretty happy about it when we do get him, but nothing this week. Update on the podcast as a whole. We picked up a new sponsor for the pod, and we'll be announcing that here in the coming weeks, but we do have a sponsor for the pod for the Cosner Quest here. So we do have somebody that wanted to jump on board with us and help us make that happen. Also, really good downloads week with the Brother Joey episode last week. The prodigal brother returned to the podcast, and a lot of people like to listen to that. So thank you for listening to that one, and thank you for supporting the show. Continue to hear a lot of great things from those of you out there that do support the show and listen to the show, and it means a lot to us. So thank you so much. Special thanks to the Moonlight team here, Brendan Gargano, who does all of the artwork for the podcast. He's the best in the business. Thank you, Brendan. Brian Sandvig, the producer of the Moonlight Graham Show, all the stuff behind the scenes that you don't see. Brian Sandvig is in charge of that. Brian, you are the man. The trusted co-host, Tommy Griffin, maybe the most popular guy in the Moonlight Graham Show family. Thank you, Tommy, and Andy and Neil, the brothers who are not the prodigal brothers, I guess. Thank you to those guys for helping me out with ideas and booking guests. So, as well as thank you guys, the Moonlighters out there that make this show possible. You guys are awesome. Have a great week, Moonlighters, and send us your Kevin Costner ideas. I'm getting desperate.
It's Moonlight Graham, yeah. It's a pretty good program, broadcasting to the heartland. Sports stories for the everyman. It's Moonlight Graham, yeah. Please follow us on Instagram. You're loving us on Twitter too. You download every pod we do. It's Moonlight Graham.